India at UN has expressed its concern about the discriminatory inferior status accorded to women in the Afghan society, which has adversely impacted the education of girls in the war-torn country, while underlining the need for the Security Council to focus its attention on the consequences of terrorism on the rights of women. Take a look. The 15th regular session of the UN was held on June 13th and will last until July 8th. Participants discussed the situation of women around the globe and voiced deep concerns about Afghan women's status. India has also expressed its concern about the discriminatory inferior status accorded to women in the Afghan society, which has adversely impacted the education of girls in the war-torn country. Addressing the UN Security Council open debate on women and peace and security, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador T.S. Tirumurti, said discriminatory social and political structures have made violence against women systematic and deeply entrenched, making women easy targets in situations of armed conflict.
Terrorism and violent extremism continues to be the biggest violator of human rights and a persistent threat to global peace and security. Needless to say, women and girls invariably suffer disproportionately by terror acts. It deserves strong condemnation and call for adoption of a zero-tolerance approach. The Council must focus its attention on the consequences of terrorism on the rights of women.
The deteriorating condition of women in Afghan society is not only a matter of concern for world leaders. There are other major issues also. The recent 27-page report of the monitoring team under Taliban Sanctions Committee covering the period since the capture of Afghanistan by Taliban reveals worrisome threats not only to India but to others, especially in the region. There are three dimensions in the report. First is the increased presence of anti-India terrorist outfits in Afghanistan after August 2021, including Al-Qaeda in Indian subcontinent, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. Second is the rising outflow of narcotics from that country. The report indicates that smuggling of the Afghan origin drugs have increased significantly in the second half of 2021, increased up to 50%. The spiraling cases of drug consignments detected in India coming directly or indirectly from Afghanistan corroborate this fact. Third is more disturbing. Taliban's victory in Afghanistan has inspired terrorists around the world. The report indicates that Pak-based anti-India terrorist outfits have now increased training camps in Afghanistan. The Indian envoy has also emphasized that terrorism and violent extremism continues to be the biggest violator of human rights and a persistent threat to global peace and security.
In this regard, it is important that we factor in growing concerns emanating from the misuse of new and critical technologies. Internet and social media networks have the potential to augment women's voice and increase their participation. However, extremist groups and terrorists have increasingly exploited these tools to the detriment of women. They have threatened women who are active in public life, muzzled their voices, amplified discriminatory ideas, and promoted violent radicalization. To counter such misuse, we require a non-discriminatory and collective effort through a whole-of-society approach.
If Taliban-ruled Afghanistan is again turning into an exporter of terror, it is in part because of the collapse of its economy and law and order. Security across the world is virtually non-existent. An uptick in violence from anti-Taliban attacks by a desperate but growing resistance to suicide attacks targeting ethnic minorities like Hazaras indicates the Islamists are fast losing whatever governing grip they might have had. Militancy is thriving, much of it deployed to geopolitical ends. The Taliban's inability to govern has effectively provided a carte blanche for terrorist groups to operate in and from Afghanistan's territory.